guess like zero paperwork. You registered for Dragon's Den without actually registering the business.
Yeah,
which is insane. Like
I don't know if I
you
can even
apply
say
for one
that.
of the biggest like TV shows without actually
Yeah,
registering the business.
I can give the story on that. I was 18. My birthday's in August, so I was 18 for the whole year. And I've been watching Dragon's Den since I was quite young. I mean, like maybe 10 or 11 or whatever, with Peter Jones or whoever. And I remember I was in my university library and I was like, there was no thought about actually going on Dragon's Den. It was just like, let's just fill the form in and see what happens. Like, there's nothing's going to come of it. And it was the worst application form I'd ever written out in my whole entire life. The boxes were so big, and I was like, I can't bother spending so much time on this application form when it's not going to happen. You know, I was so young, it wasn't a feasible option in my head, but I filled it out anyway because I was like, oh, why not fill it out? I get a call or an email or a call from this lady from Dragon's Den from the BBC. She's like, Miles, we'd like to put you on for the next round, you know, interview for the next round. And I was like, right, okay, not going to get through, but I'll do it anyway. And she's asked like, what do you value your company? I'm like, I'm 18. I just started this business not long ago. I'm at university, and I'm just thinking, oh, 100 grand. Yeah, I'll value 100 grand. That's pretty cool that my business is worth 100 grand. Anyway, from then it stuck, and then that's what we went to Dragon's Den on. But anyway, long story short, but yeah, an absolute crazy period in my life, but loads of lessons learned.
Mm. And yeah, they were asking for like paperwork and stuff like that you didn't have at the time.
They were. I remember we spent a lot of time with a lot of accountants, kind of getting everything organised and in order, because you have to understand, I was an 18-year-old. My parents had no clue what I was doing. You know, my parents didn't. It was such an off the cut thing to do. Start the business at university. No one knew what I was doing. The processes weren't in place. We kind of just cracked on and then figured that bit out later. Luckily, we got it all sorted and, you know, got onto the show or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I just couldn't ask for a better kind of experience into the startup world.
Thing is, like I've obviously spoken to a lot of people that have been on Dragon's Den, both you know, got investment, haven't got investment, haven't aired in terms of their episode. So I hear a lot about behind the scenes on Dragon's Den. But for people that I guess are listening to your story for the first time, or listening to, you know, behind the scenes of Dragon's Den for the first time, how long was that whole application process, if you can obviously share? Yeah, and then we'll go from there.
I'm under NDA with a little bit, but I can vaguely share kind of the bits and pieces. I just remember it being the most stressful few months of my life.
Really?
So this researcher, when she contacted me on day one, I thought it's like the last time I'm going to speak to her. She's going to ask me evaluation. I'm going to go on to the next stage, and then it's going to be like, sorry, we can't take you any further. And I remember she called me back, I don't know, whatever the time gap was, and was like, Miles, on to the next stage. And then it went, next stage. And I was like, oh, crap. Next stage. Oh, crap. Next stage. To the point, and this poor girl, I spoke to her every single day for like that 4 or 5 month period. And I think it was around 4 months maybe. And I spoke to her every day because we were just back and forward with like the amount of paperwork they needed.
Like due diligence stuff.
Yeah, and I didn't know the terminology or for term sheet, whatever it was, or pitch decks. I didn't know any of that. So I was learning constantly.
Yeah.
And I wasn't on LinkedIn. You know, I didn't even know what LinkedIn was. I couldn't care less about LinkedIn. I couldn't care less about that, or the corporate or the startup side. And I just, we're moving on. Anyway, long story short, after kind of like 4 or 5 months, I'm on holiday with a friend at the time, and she calls me. She's like, Miles, you're on Dragon's Den. Like, you need to come in and film. I'm like, what do you mean I'm on? And she's like, in 2 weeks, you need to be in Manchester to film. I'm like, oh my God. So at this point, I don't actually feel like, it hasn't kicked in that I'm actually going on Dragon's Den. Bear in mind, still 18, been watching the show for like the past eight years. Going to Manchester, I'm in this hotel, and she's like, right, Miles, we'll meet you at the studio at 11. I go down to the studio, and there's like me and this other guy. His name was James Higgins. He was on the show as well. And we were in the green room for like 6 hours before any of us went on. And we were just talking for 6 hours.
6 hours? Wow.
Yes, he's like 30 odd. We were just talking back and forward for like 6 hours, practicing our pitch. It was incredible. But when he went in first, actually. He went in first, and you don't see anything to do with Dragon's Den when you're in the green room. You're kind of getting your makeup done or whatever. He goes in, and like an hour and a half later, you get no warning, and he's like, Miles, come through. And it's like, holy shit.
Your heart must have been pounding for about an hour.
It was probably the first time I'd worn like a shirt and suit pants. When James went in, I thought, oh my God. Like I was asking the crew, like, when am I on next? When am I on next? They're like, I've got no clue. And they called me in, and it was just the bit of PTSD, to be honest with you. Seeing the whole behind the scenes set, it's such a big operation, and I think that's what kind of threw me off a little bit. But anyway, because I'd seen so many fails on Dragon's Den, I was like, I can't be that person who forgets their number. So I walked out and I gave my numbers straight away. And you kind of forget you're on a TV show, and you just start pitching to them and discussing the idea. And luckily, we had a good ride and scored an investment from Stephen Bartlett. But the experience was incredible. And I remember when we finished recording, it was about 2 hours or so of the actual pitch. I left and I was like, what the hell actually happened? That was crazy. And I ended up telling my parents didn't know I was going on, actually. It was only after they found out I scored investment that I told them.
They didn't know you were going on?
Yeah, because I didn't want to not get investment and then...
Oh, right, I see.
And then well, they would have found out anyway, because I would have been on TV.
Yeah, you would have been on TV, yeah.
I didn't want to go on and then not get investment and then be like, look, Mum and Dad, I didn't get any investment. So anyway, I told them after that I got investment.
That's pretty crazy. Yeah, I think like what people don't see is sitting in the green room. That whole camera setup, obviously you don't see because you're the one that's viewing on TV. I think another surprising thing that I learned like a couple of years ago was that the actual pitch itself isn't like 10 minutes, 15 minutes is what's on TV. It's about what, like 2 hours, right?
2 hours. I've heard some people say it's like 3 hours for them, but mine was about an hour and a half, 2 hours. It goes by quite fast, to be honest with you. And I remember I went to the wall. So they've got like the wall, and you get your offer, and you go to the wall. And I went to the wall twice. And a lot of people, when they go in Dragon's Den, they think, oh, like, who am I going to accept if I get an offer? I must have had a lack of confidence in myself. I didn't think I was going to get an offer, so I had no one in mind of like who I would pick. And I got 3 offers: Peter, Tuka, and Stephen. And I go to the wall. I'm like, oh shit, I need to go to the wall and just think about this. But I couldn't, because there's so many cameras and it's such a production. It's so hard to make logical choices. And I was in the corner like, what the hell is this? So I instantly was like, right, I can't pick. I turned around and was like, along the lines of, what can you offer to me in terms of mentorship? But they only showed me going to the wall once, so I actually went to the wall twice. And I turned around and they were like, Miles, we can do this, this. I think Steve said along the lines of, like, you're my it. You know, I've been down your pathway, which is very true. He went to Manchester University, Manchester Met, and dropped out as well. So it's all kind of the same. But then a part of me was like, Peter Jones is Peter Jones. 10-year-old Miles would have watched him and thought, that's really cool that it's Peter Jones. But I just kind of thought, they're all really good candidates, and Steve was best for us at the time. But yeah, turned around, went to the wall, and was like, "I'll accept your offer," and that was it from there. But
very cool.
But yeah, I just think there's so many things that fell into place to make that happen, which was great.
Can you discuss what happens after? So after you accept an offer?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be different. I don't know how much I can say, but it's different for everyone. You kind of go through the same due diligence processes you would with any other investment, really. From that point on, it's just like a normal investment deal. Yeah, like you would with anyone else.